Welcome to PropTech Buzz. I am your host, Olivia Rizvi. Today's podcast is about understanding global student housing with the co founder of University Living, Mr. Saurabh Arora. He is a thought leader and industry specialist and forerunner in the student accommodation industry. Hi, Saurabh.
Hi, Olivia. How are you?
Hi. So, where are you joining in from today?
No, I'm very much in my headquarters, which is in Noida, Delhi. Yeah, not traveling and pretty comfortable.
Okay. So let's get into the interview quickly and tell us a little bit about your background, your journey. It's been a long journey, but you have been a forerunner in actually seeing this industry before it became popular. So tell us about your journey. Tell us about university living.
So journey has been very topsy turvy, but rewarding and enriching. I hail from a tier two, tier three city called Meerut, which is like 2 hours away from Delhi NCR, in India. Um, uh, Moved from Meerut to Delhi for my undergrad. I'm a Delhi University product. Did economics honors. Completed my graduation. Got into stock market as my first job. Got this pseudo understanding. Okay, I can be a wealth manager. So got into stock market. Spend 3 4 years into finance, stock markets. Banks. In between, I did my masters from Independent Business School in Gurgaon, and that's where I got opportunity to go to Nottingham back in 2010-11. Didn't get my housing. I stayed in a hotel for 1.5 months, and probably that's how I got into this. So I call I'm a chosen one. Because my even Twitter profile or the X profile is Mr. Accidental CEO. So I had no plan to get into business, or I hail from a business family background, but I was one of those people in my family wherein I wanted to work, I wanted to do a job. I'm like no one in my entire generation. My father, my grandfather, they all been entrepreneurs. So we have a furniture business back in India. So that's how, when I went to Nottingham, didn't get my housing, stayed in a hotel for 1.5 months, and realized that there's a gap. And again, there are no point to start. I came back while I was a banker, completed masters, and got into banking. So lots of my family friends start connecting with me that, okay, you went to UK, didn't get housing. How did you go about it? How did you cope with it? That's when I realized that there's something happening. There's something, there's a problem. There's a need, which need to be resolved. But I continue to be a very happy-go-lucky banker. Enjoy my life. Probably staying with my roommate, who is Mayank, who is my co-founder. So then he decided to go to UK. Once he decided to go to UK, I'm like, okay, don't go like me. Book your accommodation, then go. So he did listen to me, and he did book up early. But he had even more torrid time. He got a very fragmented, unstandard homestay or HMO, what call in UK, like a PG in India, and where the food was, late 7 in the morning, dinner was 5 in the evening, and Indian student, international student don't eat dinner at 5, right? So, and he had paid everything upfront. No one was allowed to come. No one was allowed to go out from his PG or homestay. We had a very torrid time, and then when he came back, and that is where something very magic happened. So I believe in omens. I believe in destiny. I believe in, like, there's some there's some higher power which make you do things which you are born to. So I guess for me, fortunate enough to probably find my mojo or find my purpose, which is to accommodate, or to provide safe, secure, value for money accommodation all across the globe. And I went through the problem. My roommate went through the problem. Me and my roommate Mayank, there's an internal story that, we've been roommates for almost 7 years. Before we got married, right? We are still together. We are together for the last 22 years. So we realized that, I mean, the journey we went through, from Meerut to Delhi, every year we're looking for a new place, a new place, a new place. From Delhi to UK again, found accommodation problem. Then same with Mayank. And even after 2011, when I bought my first house in India, even I didn't get my house in time. Yeah, there is something happening, and probably now I can talk about this in a hindsight, but then something to do with education, real estate, prop tech, travel tech, because we are a output of getting out of our comfort zone, moving to new city, moving to new country, went through some problems, try to resolve that problem, and that's how I got into this. I started Neologist back in 2011, along with my cousin. So we were one of the category creator. We were the first one in industry, or probably globally. Us and there's another company called Student.com that point in time, in China. So that's how we've been creating category, and took it just from 0 to 1, probably to 500,000 revenue at that point in time, and then moved out, started again, living back in 2015-16. And from then it's amazing, right? For one man army, now we have 400 people all across the globe. From one workplace listed company to now, known as uh, global student housing managed marketplace, wherein we are leveraging tech, content, community, from assisting few hundred students to assisting 8 to 10 million students all across. So journey been very rewarding, a bit tiring, but more exciting and amazing.
It's actually very incredible. So I have been doing research on this entire market, and when you actually noticed this market, it must have been very niche. And today it is, I think there are 1.3 million Indian students, 6.4 million international global students, and 1.3 million Indian students. And it is a very, like, amongst the population of India, where we are like 1.4 billion people, it is very small. So actually being able to pick up on that growth trajectory that you have realized, it is actually a very incredible thing. And certainly because you started so early up, you must have seen a lot of challenges to actually start this entire company. Talk to us about that, like tell us how difficult it was for you to actually start this. And because you also started from a time where technology wasn't as where it is today, you started it when it was more like person to person approaching, like the speed was it as such. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, so absolutely, so it's a niche, it's a niche of a very huge market, you know. So I mean, just to throw some number, you're absolutely right. The 1.3 million students went from India across the globe last year. But when I started, there were only 2.5 lakhs, or under 200,000 students were going to UK, from India going to UK, US, Australia. Right. So from 200,000 to 1.3 million, that's a journey. Overall, globally, there were 2.3, 2.4, or maximum 3 million students. From 3 million to 6.4 million, that's a journey, right? So globally, there are 80 million students who get enrolled every year. Within that, there are 35 million students who are mostly into Anglophones country, which is UK, US, Australia, English speaking countries. And then if you add, all the countries, including uh, all the international students who get enrolled in their undergrad, postgrad, and need accommodation. That's a 800 million. That's a 80 million students, and a particular student spend $10,000 a year on their accommodation when they go abroad or intercity in that. So that's a 800 billion USD market. And then
Wow.
it's to us. In what form and shape, what watches, we can take a pie of this 800 billion USD dollar market, which is a amalgamation of education, real estate, and travel. So prop tech, travel tech, ed tech, and then problems are amazing. Right? I mean, today till date, I believe what we are building is it's more like Airbnb of for students, OYO for students, and Make My Trip for students. So in our first phase, we went after air Make My Trip way, wherein we are horizontal, listing, global listing platform, marketplace, I would say. Then with our launch of this joint venture with London is in London, called Uninist. So we are going after a OYO model for students in UK and Ireland, right? And then similarly with our latest acquisition of student tenant in UK, we're going after that fragmented, budgeted, platform, and As I mentioned, that time I still remember that was a pre-geo era in India, and overall also, there are few millions of people on internet. Of course, now in India itself there are 900 million people on internet, right? So at time we got lucky also. The kind of network we are creating now, it's very tough to create now. It's like someone who started e-commerce back in 2014 versus trying to build now. Someone who got into AI probably 5 years back versus now trying to build now. Got into crypto back in 2012, 13, trying to get in now. So we got lucky and fortunate, and also we went through the flow. So earlier it was a very lifestyle business. I didn't know what is VC, I didn't know what is tech, and startup. I'm not a tech founder. Now, of course, on a lighter note, I can appear for interview or CTO, and I'll crack it. That's a different time, that's a different way that the company might chuck me after 6 months. 6 months as a CTO, I can survive. I have learned enough jargons and enough technology, to act like a CTO. But on a serious note, from a time when this concept were unheard of, from the time when these listed companies, like Unites and Stars were like, why should we work with you, to a time when we are providing them marketing solutions, technology solutions, giving end-to-end booking systems. We have our own property management solution, we are a channel manager for lots of platforms. Very fortunate to get right people, and we were focused. So still in the success of last, as I call it, still in the overnight success of last 13 years, and yeah, we continue to become mega success in next 30 years.
Okay, I think you're being very humble about it. You're saying you've been lucky, you've been fortunate. But if you look at the history of first mover advantage, it does not exist. Zomato doesn't have first mover advantage, it was birth. And there are a lot of other companies as such. So Facebook is also not a first company, there were companies before that. So I mean, these are companies built on the model of companies that tried to do it first, but somebody else learned from their mistakes. So I don't think you should give yourself a little more credit. And let's now understand more about how university living works, because it's not just a student housing platform, right? You all have an end-to-end solution. You all help them with their visas, you help them you with health insurance, you all help a student all around now. And so
Yeah.
now you're like a one-stop shop. If I want to tomorrow go and study abroad, uh, take me through the process of how that will go. Y'all are even the guarantor, which I did speak to another company and they play the guarantor as well, but I think you're the one who was the first person who became the guarantor. So take us through your entire company's process and how it helps people.
Sure, sure. So, quickly to finish your loop, no, definitely we are extremely proud and very very happy, and we take all the credit to create this category. In fact, when people call me father of student housing in Asia, I tell them that, I mean, I am still not a father. I'm a father of one daughter, right? And of course, still being my first baby always, and that is for my wife, and this comment will definitely will invite a bit of trouble for my wife. But you know about first move advantage, um, I guess it was conscious, and it happened that ways. I got the first move advantage of starting into this in 2011, but because I'm put in the industry for the last 13 years, we have seen the first move advantage, we have seen the second, third year move advantage, and my philosophy in life, I don't want to be number one, I want to be the last man standing. So I'm learning from lots of mistake people have done, or probably most lots of experiment people have done, right? And in different form and shape in current avatar we are, wherein we learn from few things from my first company. We learn few things from couple of companies who raised 100 $200 million, and their intent was good, but probably किसी ने अच्छी टीम बना ली, किसी ने अच्छा प्रोडक्ट बना लिया, but as a business you need to bring a good team, good product, you need to be in the right side of the market, either you're in headwinds or tailwinds. So that's why I call, we are a, we become lucky, because we are at it. So once you're at it, there will be inflection point. So we have lots of inflection points, and now the current inflection point wherein now university living is one of the only platform globally. We got a network effect, from US to Australia. We cover cities like Singapore, Dubai, Southeast Asia. We are very very deep in India. Indian student going abroad. We do student from South Asia, Middle East. So truly a global student housing managed marketplace. When we started a market, a listing platform. Then we become a marketplace. Then we become managed marketplace, and now we are becoming a global student housing, global distribution system for student housing. you know so that's why, when you are in a space for 13 years, so you might not know everything, but suddenly you get to know few things what not to do. And I'm a big fan of what not to do,
Yeah,
because
they're
we all
absolutely
want to
right.
do everything. So what not to do, we are very clear, and due to which, we've been profitable. We've been mostly bootstrap. We have raised funds, but if I share, and don't ask over the camera how much we have raised. It's in the market, but we have raised. I mean, people raise 100 million to do 2 million kind of revenues. We just raised 2 million till date, and we are at, like, we are doing decently well financially. So where I'm coming from, lots of challenges. Definitely first move advantage. Definitely, I won't say last move advantage, but advantage of being in the system for few years. And challenges, right from, there were no tech till date. Imagine what make my trip or booking.com, India first avatar, when they were going to after hotels and asking for APIs or creating APIs, and everything got manually done on their, dashboards and LMS, right? So we have gone through that journey. We are still, there are lots of things which we need to disrupt, right? But in our current form, where I'm saying technology, content, and community is our three leeway, and between amalgamation of education, tech, prop tech and travel tech. So we got a very sweet spot wherein, the macros of Indian or international student go abroad will continue. If in fact it's at an inflection point. There are lots of, I mean, student housing as an asset, or PBSA as an asset, purpose-built student accommodation as an asset, is becoming more popular and more accepted globally. Earlier, it used to be only a US phenomena or UK phenomena. Now, even in India, we have, few companies who are building PBSA. Though there are things, are still lots of policies and lots of infrastructure still need to be in India before India explored over the global, horizon for student housing, but it's coming there. Similarly, South Asia market is coming well. So, lots of, I mean, there's so many challenges still that need to be resolved, and probably that is where it's giving us lots of, you know impetus to keep innovating, to keep disrupting, and we are at it.
Well, that's actually something that you said that really struck me, is that y'all make sure y'all know what not to do. Okay, that is very interesting, because I've felt that sometimes. But so that is very very interesting. So I when I was researching about y'all, Think School has actually used y'all as a case study, which is actually a success story by itself, right? Because when you're actually looking for the industry in the country and trying to create a report, you all have actually become thought leaders to the degree that there are people actually using your data to actually accumulate and understand the market. And what I really found actually some pride in is that an Indian company is 30% market shareholder in the global accommodation online platforms, which has been very successful, and kudos to you for that. But let's talk a little bit about what you feel is the future of student housing. Like, what do you see or understand that is going to be the next steps in student housing? What are the next disruptions? How is tech coming in? Please talk to
Yeah,
us about that.
yeah, yeah. So, when I started neurology and then I started in university living, I realized few things, that if you are just a listing platform, you're creating value, but you're not creating enough value. And when you are only a marketplace, you do not manage marketplace. then probably you're not owning the supply, probably you're not able to provide end-to-end, solution to students and accommodation partners and other stakeholders. So our journey is always, we are very, value creation is a very strong virtue at University Living. That, in fact, I have a t-shirt which I wear, valuation sab dikhate hai, create value, right? So I'm a big fan that if you keep creating value, valuation is a byproduct, one thing. And that value creation doesn't mean just, keep doing anything. You need to understand the pain point of students, the pain point of accommodation partners, the pain point of ecosystem, right? And with that mindset, uh, this is how we move from, listing to market to manage marketplace to moving towards a global distribution system for student housing. And while we are doing this, we are very clear, what not to do, as I mentioned. So there, I mean, we can get into admission, we can get into financing, we can get into constructions, we can get into other things, but for us, our DNA is tech. Our DNA is how we can grow faster in an asset light, capital efficient way. Right? That's always been our DNA, and we want to stick around that. So due to technology, we have grown so fast, so far, with minimal, fundraise so far. Of course, now we are looking for more growth capital, and it's coming well. Again, not a formula of announcing capital raise. I believe one should announce about our, our collaboration with Apple, our collaboration with Uber, our collaboration with British Airways, because I believe that's real, PR worthy announcements. But as a global mobility and a part of student study abroad, and we position ourselves as a one-stop shop post admission, housing as a core and other value-added services, because you were mentioned about the value-added in, in the previous question. So other value-added services, which includes air tickets, airport transfer, remittances, and guarantor service. Again, guarantor service itself is a very big vertical, and we are doing something very innovative on this, on guarantor aspect. We are helping students pay their rentals and remittances. If a student book accommodation, it's a natural forward integration to, they book air tickets and airport transfer. So as I mentioned, when you are part of the industry and you have gone through that journey, most of my team, they have either study abroad or they are going to abroad, so they're on the ground, so any service which we launch, it's just not random service, you know so one stop shop, adding services which differentiate and, and enhance students experience is what we are all about, right? Now coming to your next question about future of study abroad, or probably global housing. So I want to take a detour here. So, I want to tell everyone about what exactly are the options about housing. You know, so if you see, there are online accommodation, there are off-campus accommodation. So on-campus accommodation is your university halls, dorms or hostel, what we call in India. Right? On campus, then you have PBS, purpose-built student accommodation, like Unite Space Star. In India, there's Stanza, Your Space. Similarly in South Asia, there are few. And then there's off non-PBS, which is your homestay, your co-livings. We all know about co-livings. Then there's homestays. Then there is private apartments, your BTR, HMOs. Shadow housing, what we call in US, right? Uh,
Yes.
so initially in the first phase, we went after PBSA, and we have consolidated almost 1.5, 2 million beds on our platform. And we are a horizontal asset light model from Australia to US, and all the countries in between. Now we are a vertical, integration, or a vertical accommodation, wherein we have premium accommodation, we have budgeting, we have, mid-level, and then also initially we were in a more long-term accommodation. Now we are short-term, flexible, and long-term. So create a product or options for everyone in this 80 million students, accommodation market. You also mentioned about niche. Yes, it's a niche of a very huge market. See, that's what, as I mentioned, I'm very clear what not to do. So it's very easy for me to get into admission finances, but we're like, if there are 80 million students, we are still doing few 100,000 students. Let's reach to a 1 million student first, and then we'll think about diversifying, right? And with
Yes.
all this background, with all these insights, we also be able to see the patterns and changes in the industry, from student looking for just a room, to students looking for private room with shared washroom, to student moving from studio wherein they want their own washroom, they want their own kitchen, then moving to probably now what's happening, earlier there were only universities who were giving their accommodation. Then they realize that their academic is their strength. Accommodation is important, but it's poor. So then they have started tying up with operators or REITs to build or manage their accommodations. A platform like us become a become it's like you have airlines, and then you need aircraft for booking. So maybe we have accommodation, and then we need platform like University Living, Uni needs student tenant to market, to provide them distribution and access to new markets while reducing the cost of acquisition and increase the occupancy. And at a pattern, if you see, US is very mature market, UK is very mature market. Now the same accommodation market or student accommodation market is moving towards India in this form. Even Africa, Nigeria, South Africa is a very upcoming market. Malaysia, Indonesia. So wherever you have universities, that means there you have students. Where you have students, you need accommodation. And wherever you need accommodation, there are different models which are getting emerged. One is, as I mentioned, you can be a fund, who invest in facility management companies, or you can be an operator who need softwares, who need tools and platform like us, or you become a platform play like a Zomatos and Ubers of the world, wherein you're building a proper ecosystem, right? So this is how we have been seeing this space been evolving. And if I talk about particular about student housing as a sector, right? So from on campus to off campus to PBSA to non PBSA to HMOs to private apartments to co-livings, and then within a building, earlier there used to be a just a block, no frills, rooms, where it's a roof on the roof and a table and a chair in a room, to become a swanky PBSA where you have cinema halls, you have sports rooms, then now the same building wherein you have a commercial on the ground, expensive accommodation or budget accommodation in first, second, third floor, fourth, fifth, sixth floor are premium studios, and this is how city managers or investor into this space is probably evolving and creating more value and margins for them and with all ecosystems.
Okay. So I'm understanding that since you've been on this journey for so long, this is what I have understood from of university living. So I think you all started from the English speaking countries, which is Canada, UK, Australia, Ireland, and America, the USA. So basically, today, as of today, y'all are present in several countries, but y'all have 2 million beds. Y'all are present in 515 cities across these five regions. And so, of course, you have gone from seeing a very, very unorganized market where students had to like probably get there and figure out how they're going to stay, where they're going to stay. And from what we understand, that only about on the higher side 20% of these students are actually getting accommodation in the universities themselves. The rest of them are actually looking for accommodation ideally close to their universities and close to recreational activities which would be important to them. So you entered the industry in a time where there was no organization, and the prices they had to pay, they probably had to pay inflated prices. They would probably overbook places. So how have you organized this market? Because I know you got into this industry in a time where you actually started organizing the market. So, how did you organize this market? And then tell us today how you see somehow university living has also taught people how to work in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we would like to take all the credit. I mean, even our predecessors, whether it's student.com, it did well. It's just that probably, this is what either first mover advantage or remover advantage like give you so much of advantage that it's hard to fill. Or at time, when you are disrupting, you are also figuring out. So there are time when lots of investment gets into to educate the market. In fact, last 13 years, if I can take one credit, in the last 13 years, I've been telling the same thing everyone. If you're a student, start early and look beyond accommodation, beyond university halls. right? And now people realize they're short of housing crisis, all across the globe, especially in Canada, UK. I mean, whether it's housing crisis or not, we can have a full podcast on that topic. But definitely there's a imbalance between demand and supply. Definitely there is a discovery gap. If one can discover the accommodation, they might not be able to book end to end. So this is what we are resolving, that discovery, search, and book end to end, and then how we enhance the experience once they are there, providing other value added services, other supports like employability, support like finances, support like mental health support. Because students are, we are B2C platform. If you see, in our current avatar, we are B2C, B2B, B2I. B2I is institution, we work with universities and institutions. B2B, we work with all the education partners and all the stakeholders. B2C, direct to students. you know so in our current form we have evolved a lot, but I won't take all the credit that we have changed the way people have been working. In fact, we've been learning from all of them, with a very collaborative mindset. We've been learning from them. We've been understanding what they were missing, or at that point in time, at time even the environment or infrastructure you need, or your support you need to operate. I mean, आज के टाइम पे इंटरनेट है तो एआई बहुत इजी है, अगर इंटरनेट होते नहीं तो एआई की तो बात ही नहीं होती.
Hmm.
अगर आज के टाइम पे वेब 3 इज वेरी वेरी इजी, बट इफ देयर वर नो ब्लॉकचेन एंड क्रिप्टोस एंड लर्निंग्स, lots of product will been built in web 3 will not be possible. So similarly for us also, whatever our predecessors have done, we have built on it, we have probably enhanced it, and we are not getting complacent. We know anything which is not progressing is regressing. So we are keep challenging ourselves. We launch Unionase, we launch student tenant. We have a replacement for students. As a studio, we have a matchmaking facility for students. Then we have tech and marketing solution for accommodation partners. We introduce, we have been very collaborative with connecting. The way we have built our own PMS, it's a collaborative effort. There was something we realized is missing, we pick something, we build on something, we integrate few other tools within it. So again, it's a evolving process. We have not disrupted everything. There are so many things to be done, so many solution need to be built. Yeah, but only credit which I would like to take that, awareness and educating the ecosystem, that there's a category called this, and it's a need based product, and we need to build it up for a global market. Is something which definitely I would like to take some credit, but it's not entirely us. There are lots of things we've been learning from each other. We are not the only one in this ecosystem. There are a couple other platforms globally. We are doing great, and then together we are helping students and accommodation partners, to stay put, to improve their margins and create value for all of them.
So let's talk about collaborations then, because how important do you think collaborations and partnerships between universities and accommodation providers are to this industry? And give us an example also of partnerships that have benefited students internationally.
Absolutely. So we just partner with Apple, on the program with back to students. We, I guess I've already spoken, but Uber is something which we are, again, partnering. British Airways, lots of other platform we've been partnering, because see, you know as I mentioned, I'm very clear what not to do, right? So if you have platform, we need to bring partners in the ecosystem, so that everyone benefits. These partner get huge distribution of first time user of their product, because most of them are students. They are 17, 18, and they have a huge wallet size, and they have a huge LTV for these market, other partnerships. Then similar for students, I mean, why we use Zomato or why we use Uber? Within it got network effect. Whether you're in Lucknow, whether you're in Delhi, whether you're in New York, you can use Uber to transport. You can use Uber to order Uber Eat if you're in, So then again, there's we need real accommodation partners, to build amazing world class buildings and facilities which we can promote and market, and provide a discovery platform to students. right? Then we need even governments and universities, as you mentioned, needs to come together. So we are very solution oriented company and a platform. There are people who keep saying housing crisis, and I ask, is are students staying on the road? No. Yes, they are finding cover. Yes, there are there's a distorted journey and booking systems, right? Rather than focusing on problem, if problem is there, that's why we exist. No? Otherwise, if there's no problem, we should not we should, will never exist, right? So you know embrace the problems, look for the solutions, and solution is right there. I mean, it might not be in the perfect starters, but that's, as an entrepreneur and companies, got got work to do, right? How we can make solutions which are sustainable, you know which are again scalable, right? And as an entrepreneur, I guess one main role of any entrepreneur is to bring all the resources together, right? So for us, how we are bringing universities close to our community partners, how we bringing, you know, um, embassies and government, and discuss about the solutions. So we, you also mentioned data in your previous few questions. So we are we got our own UL research desk, where we will produce, our reports and white papers for this ecosystem, and that has been taken very well by local media, international media, where we talk about the numbers, the data, and there's an industry report segment on our website, university.com, so people can get access free of cost, and then there are lots of insights. And if you see, they're just not, previous numbers and data and, boring jargons. There's a solution, way forward, how government can come together, how private companies, platforms come together, and, and innovate, and do new things. Like union is a disruptive model within this space, right? um, uh, Replacement finder, again a disruptive feature which we provide to students, right? Guarantors, again, are disruptive, needed, services, for economic partners as well as for students. So yeah, lots of problems, but lots of solutions, and how we move forward with bringing all the partnerships and ecosystem together. We're able to provide more value and end-to-end ecosystems to our students, to our economic partners, to our universities, and to our other stakeholders in the ecosystem.
um the, Now since you mentioned government, it came to my mind, right? So in India, a very small demographic is actually responsible. So 10% of India pays for 80% of taxes. So right now you are actually catering to that market, but our population is 1.4 billion, right? So you actually strike gold the minute you tap into our entire population. So, and eventually education though is something everybody deserves, because that is the way people grow. Education just makes you realize how to think, and then you think for yourself. So I mean, what do you think, like, India can do at a domestic level, at a governance level, to actually fill that gap? Because there are a lot of people who will not get an opportunity to travel abroad, and they can study here. We have our own, like, universities. Well, how do you think that gap can be bridged?
So India, there's a lot of opportunity in India in this space, I've been consulting and discussing, and been, a few boards of Indian accommodation companies and software companies, right? We ourselves give it a shot in India back in 2020, and then pandemic happened, and we have to focus on our core. But in those, those 9-10 months, in 2020, right from Jan till September, we realized few things, and those are, again, help us what not to do at what point of time. This was very clear what not to do at what point of time. If I have been not been doing India, that doesn't mean we will not be in India, right? It's just that the right timings are very important. So, I mean, we have seen lots of companies got lots of funds, but unfortunately couldn't do that well, or not doing that well. Not that, we are smarter than them. I mean, they are amazing people, and many of our friends. It's just that probably, you need to have infrastructure, you need to have policies, framework intact. Then again, I mean, let's talk about India as a market, right? There are 40 million students, and everyone knows they are 10 to 12 million beds, and there are 40 million students, so we need more beds. And due to, on the face value, every many of the many of the co-livings and student housing companies mushroomed in India in back from 2015 to 2020. Then pandemic happened. For few, they got a gracious exit due to pandemic. They were already not been managing well, but they got an exit because of pandemic. Okay, because of pandemic, they didn't survive. No, they were not ought to survive because they were not. They were unit economies are not in shape at all, right? And I don't
Yeah.
blame them. As I mentioned, initial when Ubers and Olas and Zomatos came, there were lots of they were building infrastructure. They were building deltas. They were changing delta behavior changes, right? So for them,
Yes.
firstly, I'm thankful for everyone, because of them, we are still doing okay, right? But then we're also very humble and on point that, you don't need to do everything at the same time, right? And there are few companies out of that which are not surviving. They're doing very well. I mean, I know a couple of founders who are doing amazingly well in India. So there is a opportunity. There are huge opportunities. I have a dream of having a flagship building of 500 rooms in Mumbai where I can sell £1,000 or 100,000 rupees a month, and it will happen. But will that happen now? I don't know. Uh, can it happen on scale? Probably not for now, for sure, right? But probably 5 7 years, yes. And that's a journey. Infrastructure are changing. Policy, I mean, GST just not been excluded in, for student housing, operators. So the government intent is there, progressiveness is there, need is there, things are moving. But again, as an infrastructure, as an entrepreneur, as an investor, you need to see when to invest, whom to invest, at what time. So we got lucky. We are smart. We can see back in hindsight that, okay, but we did lots of mistakes. We are doing lots of mistakes. They're not everything is hunky dory at university living. But we are at it. As I mentioned, till I'm not quitting, I'm not losing. I'm at it.
Last man standing.
Let's see.
So you're still here. I mean, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, and I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
I-
So
and I don't like to sleep.
I love to sleep. I'm sorry. I
I
like
was
sleep.
important. Sleep is one of the best recovery mechanism. But there's so much of dreams and promises, and I can see, when you're in that sweet spot, no, when definitely, there's something, few things which getting right, wherein unit economics intact. We have managed global networks. We have team in UK, Turkey, in China, in South Asia. With the kind of, I mean, we're just 7 years young, right? So at time, I pinch myself that, why everything, it's getting so, it's happening, right? Not easy, but it's happening. But probably, when the intent is right, no, when the intent is to create value for all the stakeholders, including our investors, including our I don't like employee. I don't say employee. I call my team member. Not even family member. So when we are with the right intent for our, army of ULites, what we call it, you know. So I guess if you have the right intent and you are at it, कुछ ना कुछ फिगर होता रहता है. एंड बस लगे रहो. जब तक जिंदा हो काम करते रहो, कुछ ना कुछ होता रहेगा.
No, I think the thing about success is you may make 1,000 mistakes, but the day you strike gold, nobody remembers those mistakes. Then you're just that successful man, and that is the success. So,
Uh, I don't agree. I say mistakes and rejections are part and parcel. You do more mistakes, you will be rejected more. But that combination of those mistakes, and also don't make big mistakes, as we call it. As I read or heard somewhere, don't do. They are recoverable mistakes. They are non-recoverable. So try not to do non-recoverable mistakes. You know,
yeah.
mistakes, experiments in lean way is affordable. So people who say, learn from your mistakes. I say learn from other mistakes.
Yes, you should. But see, nobody prepares you for life, so you don't realize that that is just a journey. That's something you just realize on the way to the journey. Okay, but Yes, I think I agree with you when you say that, because there have been a slew of a few startups in India right now, which I don't want to name, but they made some irrecoverable mistakes, and I mean they're paying the price of that. So
Easier to pinpoint other mistakes. As I mentioned, focus on what we can control. Focus on our controllable factors. And which are very few. But I congratulate. I mean, for me, failure is not being losing. Failure is not to try. I say that all the founders and partners, I've been very gratitude and grateful to them, and most of them, in fact all of them are good friends. So very easy for me to pinpoint, oh इसने ये नहीं किया था, ऐसे कर सकते थे, right? But then they are successful because they have given a shot. They were audacious enough to take the risk. And I was studying this. I was watching this movie Chandu Champion, or that wherein it talked about Tekken years. And I was also crying in this, on those movies, because what lots of relatable content, right? So my wife was, so he was when she get to know that the company gets shut, Tekken year in 2013. So you're like, oh, this was a failure. I was like, no, they changed the way people are flying. So it's not that, I mean, though I want to be the last man standing, but it's not necessary that, if I'm not last man standing, that means we are failure, right? I mean, we have our own role and play in this journey, called life. And for me, the journey of global student housing, as I'm a champion and a expert of student housing, so that's my purpose. Whether we be last man standing, or we are just playing 7-10 years role in this journey, but we are contributing, due to which, our future generation, our successors, will probably benefit the way we got benefited from our predecessors.
I the- I personally think this is a very noble line. Of course, it is a capitalist world, but it is a noble line, because I mean, once you educate someone or you help somebody get education in any way, and you just make it easier for them, you make someone's life, and that is exponential growth. No, that is
Absolutely.
exponential growth.
So, I mean, so I'm a capitalist. I have no qualms about saying I'm a capitalist, but we are a conscious capitalist. You can be crony capitalist, but till time you're conscious about making money, nothing is free, right? You need money for
Yes, of
everything. You
course,
need money for
of course,
streaming this as well, right?
of
So
course.
conscious capitalist with the right intent, then lots of things come together. I mean, trust me, I'm not the smartest around. I am very, very clear, I'm not the smartest around. Probably, we are one of those bunch which are humble, which are conscious about things, and we don't we're very open as a collaborations. In fact, most of the things, if we are able to manage, it's all about with the collaborative mindset. And then keep things keep happening, things are happening, you know and very, very fortunate and grateful to be in the space at the time, when there is a need, there's an infrastructure, and there's an inflection point. And a big credit to us that we've been seeing through.
You know, I'm I see that you're quite self-aware of yourself, and that's very commendable, and you're very humble about it at the same time. But there are lots of different kinds of smartness. Like, some people are just like very smart analytically, some people are great at math and all of those things. But from what I have experienced in life, the smartest people and the most successful people are the ones who understand other people. That's what you just need to understand, and that's probably why you're here today, is because from this little bit of interaction, I see you understand people, right? You understood a need. Maybe people came and told you, they weren't coming and asking you for a solution. They came and told you that this is my problem. Okay, and that's when you realize that, oh, look at, and also the fact that you were a banker, so you have that concept of organized markets and unorganized markets running in your mind, and you know how the tam samsung works. So you tapped into it and you hit a gold mine, and I think it was 100% success because it was your first shot. So I mean,
uh, if I sorry, I'm interrupting. If I say that, I knew everything, no. Do I know everything? Absolutely not. I'm figuring out. But yes, it's not about EQ, it's not about IQ, it's about EQ. And I say it's not only about EQ, it's about SQ as well. Because I call it, at UL, tech without human touch is waste. There are lots of founders who are like very deep in tech and tech, 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 tech. But who we are building tech for? People, right? So technology with a human touch is waste. Then it's not about just IQ. You need to have EQ and SQ, because I mean, you need human diplomacy is the biggest skill. I guess.
Absolutely.
I'm learning. I'm learning. So yeah.
I read a quote once a very long time ago that said a diplomat is a man who asks you to go to hell and you look forward to the journey.
Good one.
So, I mean, yeah. No, but yes. And so I think have taken a lot of your time, and you are a very busy man. I know this. So one last question that I do want to ask you: what do you see is the future of global student housing? Because I think you are one of the better people to have an idea of this. What do you think?
I guess the future is bright. The future is sunny. You know, this it's very very huge, because currently India is still at cusp, even after 10 years of, almost 10 12 years of, organizing this space. It's still, in India it's a good time to bargain, but please come with 10 years horizon. And if you can get you can get into it with deep pockets, because you don't know how long you need to be at it, or be very very frugal. Come with the mindset of inspired and despite of government, inspired and despite of investors. If you can build it up, it's not an easy journey. I mean, we are at it, we experience it, so it's not easy at all. But is it exciting? 500%, right? And the future of, housing globally, again, there will be there are cycles, so you need, I mean, and no one can, get the bottom and the high of any cycles, right? But if you can understand the tailwinds and headwinds, so I believe Dubai is a very good market currently, but not to enter now. People who are there, they will do well. But if you enter with absolute, like, again, which model, you are opting to enter at what cycles also define, right? So in for us, Dubai is doing amazing well, because we were at it for last 5 years, and now we are seeing the, headwinds or tailwinds. Similarly, India, there are headwinds. So if you want to get into India and go deep, then either you have deep pockets or be at it. Come at your own risk. Similarly, South Asia, there is opportunity, but then you need to understand the economics around it. The purchase, as you mentioned, in, like, 5%, not it's 10, no, it's not 10, 5% of people pay 100% of tax. And again, that's a different podcast altogether, right? So the future is bright, it's sunny, it's scalable. But again, please, understand what play, how long, and how you do want to play, and then just jump into it.
That's actually a very nice way of actually putting it, and I actually like that. When I saw your previous interviews, I saw that you have all your amounts right, you have all your analytics right, so you're someone who is analytical, which is something that comes across when you speak, so it makes a lot of sense. So with that, we will have to end the interview. And thank you so much for giving us your insights, your time. It has been a great chat. And hopefully, we will see a lot more of you as we go. And thank you so much for being with us. And with that, thank you for tuning in to PropTech Buzz, the first platform that integrates the power of products, leadership, community, and media. Thank you.